Welcome one and all to the DL debate. Thanks so much for tuning in now on Highland Radio or back via the podcast. This is your weekly GA radio show and roundup of all things in the county. And coming up later on the show, we're going to do a hurling preview with county star Sean McVeigh. Huge weekend at Naomh Park coming up this Saturday. We have the intermediate, the junior and the senior finals all taking place. Thrown in at 1 o'clock in the junior for Masters St Eunans, and 3 o'clock Cairndonagh-Buncrana. 5 p.m. the big one, Burt v Setanta. All games will be streamed. The link will go live on the County Board website tonight. Looking forward to that. That promises to be a huge occasion there in Donegal and in hurling. We're also going to speak with Maureen O'Donnell shortly. We're going to take a look at the LGFA Club Championships from the weekend. In the last couple of weeks, of course, a lot of games were postponed due to the weather, and Maureen will be joining us after a roundup of the senior championship. We're going to take a look as well at the intermediate and junior, and I'm joined by a few men that know a bit about it. Pauric Hilferty, as ever, is in studio with us, and so is Brendan Kilcoyne, regular contributor to the show, and Daire of the Donegal News. So we're going to look across, lads, the different games in the championship, and the intrigue that we had is, of course, St Naomh's, Killybegs, two teams were desperate for to get off the mark down at the bottom of the table. Their game was postponed. Rua 11 points, Ardra 4-5, goals winning games, a bit easy to say there, and a big win for Kilcar away to Glenfin. So we're going to really concentrate on St Eunans, Gweedore. The top one, I think, is gone already from John Gilday's perspective. St Eunans, Gweedore, St Michael's, Dunlow, McCool's, Naomh Conaill, and Four Masters, Glen Swilly. And Pauric will be taking us through that. Of course, that's the Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Senior Championship there, and championships, and of course the man whose name is above it had a big say in one of those games. He's still doing the business. Pauric, Michael Murphy, he's rolling.
Say rolling back the years, because Michael hasn't stopped going 5 for him.
That's right.
It just shows you class is permanent, Brendan. It's been a great performance by Glen Swilly. We'll touch in on them very shortly indeed, but delighted to say we're joined, as Brendan has indicated, Daire from the Donegal News, and also Brendan Kilcoyne, of course, our GA correspondent here on Highland Radio. I suppose let's start with that big victory over the weekend, lads. I suppose on Saturday, Gweedore coming away from the Donegal Park, Brendan, with a 1-point victory. Big performance by Gweedore, and crucial points for them as well.
Massive, and a definite element of surprise around the county when the result came through. Pauric, Gweedore have been a troublesome team for St Eunans over the last number of years, and they like coming to the park. They've been successful there in a number of occasions in the recent past, so they have, and we know the grit and the fight they bring. But I suppose in the context of the fact that both the two McGees, I suppose, Eamon and Neil, and the likes of Oran McNeilis, Micheál Carroll, Cian Mulligan, this is a relatively new Gweedore team that have had success at underage. Of that there's no doubt, kind of thing. But to come to the park and take down a Eunans team that were going really well only the week before, and I believe a contributor on the show last week was saying that there was only one team in the county, so John will have to revise his assertions on that. But it might be the kick that St Eunans need. Listen, St Eunans were short some key players, there's no doubt about that, and the likes of Darragh Mulgrew, Niall O'Donnell, who's having a great year, their main man marker, and Conor Morrison, just to mention a few of the players that weren't available on Saturday for them. So obviously when they're back, they'll strengthen them up. But Eunans will have to find a way to break down this low block, so they will, and that's the bottom line.
Is this the new terminology we're going at here? It's a low block?
Well, it's 15 behind the ball. That's the
let's call a spade what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And teams will do that, and particularly as you go deeper into the championship, there's a possibility, particularly when a team, unfancy team, come up against a fancy team. They have to set up defensively to make the fancy team kind of break them down, and Eunans have to find a better way of doing that. And listen, I totally acknowledge and appreciate that's easier said than done, but again, we see that Eunans struggled against it by all accounts on Saturday evening, and we've seen over the last number of years too, in encounters, particularly I suppose against Naomh Conaill, where they've struggled with that. Now, obviously, when you bring back the few players that were missing, it should help. But it will be a reset for Eunans, and for Gweedore, fair play to them. Great win, came up with a lot of energy, a lot of character, and I suppose the fact that they got that goal, I think, for Eoin Dobhair kind of in the first half, gave them a platform to build Pauric, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And suppose, Daire, looking at that as well, you're Ronan McNeil's, you're sitting down in Gweedore, you have time to think. Tactically, you're going to go, well, how can I beat this St. Eunans side? And obviously, that's one tactic you're definitely going to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Gweedore coming in this game, like, they would have been going into it with no fear. They had nothing to lose, and I suppose after that first week, they still did have to win, really, in a way, because if they could have been sitting on 2 points after 3 games, it wouldn't have been looking great for them. But yeah, as you're saying, like, I suppose the tactic, they've probably looked back at previous matches that Eunans have played in and seen that maybe this is something that can work. And I think the conditions were tricky on the day as well, which probably could have benefited either team, I suppose, in a way. But obviously, whenever Gweedore got their goal, that made a big difference in it.
And looking from your point of view, Brendan, as well, I suppose from Eunans looking on at this, it is, I suppose, whenever you make so many changes as well, it does give players an opportunity as well, playing in the championship, trying to get a performance out of them. Is there any positives that Eunans can take out of that particular game? I know a 1 point defeat can feel a lot at times, you know, but is there any, I suppose, when you're strengthening your panel and you're looking down the road a wee bit?
Yeah, and you're going to need a good strong squad, so you are to get through. Particularly if St. Eunans progress to the latter stages of the championship, which the expectation is they will. Pauric, you're going to need that squad depth, and I think this can be a good reset for them, because sometimes you're going along great and everyone's patting you on the back, and you go down to Davy Brennan Park, you beat the host Naomh Conaill down there the week before, and you beat them fairly comprehensively. So you do. So obviously, the confidence levels, etc., are high, Pauric. Whereas this can be a reset for them. They can look at where things didn't possibly go right for them, where they need to improve, and they can kind of just maybe refocus again on what they need to do in order to go that step further than they've gone the last couple of years. So listen, you have to take, there mightn't be too many positives in the way the game was played, but when they look back in it, and it's always said that you always learn more in defeat about individual players and a team. And Daire made a good point, that it was a must-win game for Gweedore. Yeah. It wasn't essentially for St. Eunans, and that's I suppose the championship that we're in kind of thing, So maybe the need and the desire was greater for Gweedore than it was for St. Eunans on the night, and but that said, Gweedore do have that thing over St. Eunans of recent times, and Eunans need to, there's a good chance these two sides could meet again later in the championship, so there is, and Eunans, I'd say, would learn a lot from it.
I suppose Ryan Ferry was covering the game for us on Saturday, of course, and there was that aspect when he spoke to Ronan McNeil about that rivalry between Gweedore and St. Eunans goes back generation and generation. Yeah. And there's one thing about that, I suppose, the Gweedore players, they don't fear St. Eunans, and suppose bringing that in, Daire, was really, really important, and building on that. And when they do that, Gweedore, they have really good nucleuses of players coming from underage as well. So Gweedore are quietly, I suppose, happy, very, very happy down there tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, you look back at last year as well, they lost their first away game to Ballyshannon, Naomh, and then they ended up getting to the final. So that game against Four Masters, you probably can maybe just scratch one over it in a way. Like, obviously they've come into these games now and they're starting to build momentum, and it's looking good for them. Like, as Brendan already mentioned, the 5 men that they've lost from last year are massive, but there is a lot of good young players coming through there. Aidan Brana, Donegal Club, Championship, the likes of them, they've all really impressed in the last couple of years, and they're still in the early 20s as well, so it's not all doom and gloom there.
Definitely not. And Brendan, you know a lot of those players really, really well. You're looking at Kieran Gillespie coming back into that Gweedore side. You've also Stephen Donna McFadden as well, and Dara O'Boyle was immense at the weekend. So quietly, the Gweedore men are getting things together at the right time.
Oh, 100%. And you go through their team, you look at their team on paper there, and they're all strong, good footballers. That there's a lot of quality there. likes of Adam McIver introduced into the team this year too, proper good footballer. Owen de Burke is growing by the year, and then the Ethan Harkin kind of thing, that'll get the scores. And of course Eamon Coleman's back from his travels too, so there's so much quality. Don't be fooled by the fact that we started off saying that there was 5 big guys missing. There's a lot of quality within that Gweedore team, and you mentioned Kieran Gillespie, and I heard he went off injured. I hope it's not too bad, because he deserves a run a game. So he does. He's had no luck with injury over the last number of years. So, but it's great to see him back on the field and contesting. And and Aidan Brannock, they've one of the best cornerbacks, club cornerbacks in the county. So they have, he really is a fantastic footballer. So there's no doubt the quality that they have all over the field, and they'll take an awful lot of confidence from that. They'll build from that. So they will.
Looking at another Northwest side sitting second in the Michael Murphy Senior Football Championship, currently in the league tables, is St Michael's, and they eked out a 1-point victory against Donegal. Daire, and it was that man Michael Langan that stepped up for St Michael's, an important score for them, and continuing their fine form in the championship.
Yeah, and they've probably been happy with the draw they've got so far, and they've got their 2 wins at the Bridge, which is always a difficult place to go. And I think the weather was another massive factor once again. I think the breeze was very strong down there, as it always is, but they are really ticking along well now. I seen them the first day out against Killybegs, and they looked strong. Langan again was brilliant that day. The likes of Eddie O'Reilly, Carlos O'Reilly are both playing very good football too, and they're a well experienced team now as well. That's what I was talking to Mark Anthony McGinley last week. That's one thing he was saying too, is they're quite young the last couple of years, or 5 years ago maybe, but they're all really coming into their own now, and they're really looking good at the minute, to be fair to them.
Got on at half time, Brendan. They had a very commanding lead, and Dunlow, supposed to their credit, came back. They were 8-1 down, and suppose that's probably something they will be having a conversation about this week in the St Michael's camp. Good victory, but you had a strong lead at half time.
Yeah, but by all accounts, I think the wind was a huge factor, as it is a lot of the time down the bridge. So it is, and it was always going to be. I was down that part of the country myself yesterday at the Conaill Downings game, and the wind and the weather was a huge factor, and determined how the game was going to be played, Pauric. So, there was always going to be a kick. And Dunlow were coming in with a lot of confidence, haven't had 2 wins under their belt themselves. Some really good footballers in that Dunlow team, and they'd have been really happy with their championship performance to date. And even to go down, and you go through that St Michael's team, apart from Michael Langan, who's an absolutely Rolls Royce of a footballer, he's just pure quality. There's players down through the years that you'd pay to get in and watch alone, kind of thing. And we've spoke about the likes of Oren McNeilis and that kind of thing, just pure oozing quality. Michael Langan is similar, he's just a beautiful footballer to watch. His technique, his skill level, he can do everything. So there's so much experience, Dara mentioned, throughout that St Michael's team, right through the team. Every one of the names you've seen, that they've a few years of senior football experience, and they've gone through difficult enough times down at the Bridge with, they haven't had the success that they probably deserved maybe 10-15 years ago, when they had the really crack team with the Colin Matney and the Christies and the Martin McElhennys, Daniel McLaughlin's, etc. But you go through that team, there's so much experience still within it, and they will present problems for a lot of teams when it goes to quarter-final stage. So they will, and fair play to them. Not many people would have said after 3 games that they'd be in the top couple of teams kind of thing in the table, and they've gone out and done the business. The draw may have been kind to them, but they still had to go and do the business, and they've done that.
Yeah, they definitely did. And well, Dara, I suppose you were up watching Naomh Conaill bouncing back over the weekend. They took on MacCumhaill, and look, a game where they won fairly convincingly in the second half, scoring 2-6 in that second half. It was 7 points to 3 at half time. But it went 5 points for MacCumhaill, 2-13 for Naomh Conaill. Very, very convincing there from Martin Regan's side.
Yeah, I mean, you always expected Naomh Conaill to bounce back, but I think that going to MacCumhaill Park and winning by that scoreline really does show that they are. Maybe there wasn't as much in that last week, or maybe they are still in that top 2. Are they?
There were shudders there from the man beside you.
Yeah, there always is at the mention of Naomh Conaill, and that comes from recent experience. But you listen. You have to respect Naomh Conaill, what they've done in club football, and they've been fantastic. And you look how much they've strengthened up, even that bringing back Ethan O'Donnell. Finbar Roarty now is part of the senior squad. Fantastic footballer, really one to watch. He's you know. But I think it has to be taken in the context too that if you look at the McCool's team and who they were missing, and I don't like focusing on players too much, and I know that might sound contradictory to what I'm saying, but when you take Joel Bradley Welsh and Oisín Gallen and there was Sean Martin, you know, they're 3 top players, the 3 guys that were involved with the senior squad, like kind of thing, with the Donegal senior squad. When you take them out of a team like McCool's, who are building and who have an awful lot of young good talent that I would be familiar with kind of through my time involved with the minors and the under 20s over the last number of years, you know, you're taking a big lump out of them. So they are. So, you know, this game was tight enough up to, you know, maybe 10 minutes to go. I think it was 2 late goals, Daire, that, you know, really decided in the end. But again, Naomh Conaill were burnt from the week before. There was always going to be a lashback from them. So there was on the back of the St. Eunans result the week before down in Davy Brennan Park. So, you know, Naomh Conaill are going to be featured. We know that from day one. And, you know, to me, you know, you look at it, they were only beaten by a point by the eventual All-Ireland Club Champions last year. So they're the number 1 team in Donegal, no matter what our friend John Gilday said last week. Yeah. And irrespective of the group stage results, you know, we saw the group stage last year too. It had no reflection on what happened later on the championship. So Naomh Conaill are the team to take down. And there's no doubt about that. But it's about, you know, they're building nicely. You look at the quality that they have, as I say, that they have, and the strength and depth. And, you know, they'll see the likes of Neil Francis Boyle coming through, Mark McDevitt, Finbar Roarty, Ethan O'Donnell back in the frame again. There's just, you know, they've a superb squad of players that play a very good system. And, you know, the scoreline probably didn't do McCool's justice maybe on Saturday night, but Naomh Conaill are motoring okay.
Yeah, and you were at that game, Daire, and you were, I suppose, watching it as well. And obviously, as Brendan's indicated, notable absentees from the McCool side. So maybe you can look at it in that and say, well, look, they were missing their 3 best players, to be honest.
Yeah, and Marty O'Reilly was missing as well, so it's another big name out of that team.
Huge.
And I think there was maybe 3 free kicks in the first half that they missed, and if you have Oisín Gallen or Joel Bradley Walsh on those, probably go over the bar, and you're thinking then could be a 1-point game at half time. I know it's ifs and buts and that, but that's just from frees alone that it could have been a point in it. Coming into the second half though, Naomh Conaill were just good on the ball. McCool's made a couple of mistakes just kicking the ball away, couple just mistakes, like they soloed the ball and got intercepted a couple of times, and then I think that's where one of the Naomh Conaill goals came from, the first one, and then that really made the difference. And then the second one was well into added time, just added a bit of glass for them, I suppose. But yeah, like the McCool's team, I suppose they beat Killybegs away without those 4 lads, and obviously Oisín didn't play the first game as well against Ardra when they won by 10 points. So I think you're looking at that scoreline and you're thinking, yeah, maybe they could have done a lot better with those players in, and they're still going quite well.
And good player management as well, because you're exposing, you know, other individuals to playing against the likes of Naomh Conaill, and just, you know, you can do so many drills, Brendan, throughout your time as a coach, but it's until you're actually in the mix and you learn as a footballer. And suppose McCool's are doing that with their younger players, exposing them to this.
They are indeed, and you know, we know they're a young team, and you know, the big thing that I would see with Naomh Conaill is the physicality that they have. They're all built like tanks. They're all super fit. They must live in the gym, like, kind of thing. You know, they're just so strong and fit, and you know, they understand the system that they're playing with. Whereas, you know, this is a start really of a project. Okay, McCool's got a good run last year, and you know, but you don't get to that level in 12 or 18 months, so you don't. No. That takes a few years to build up that kind of level of strength and power and physicality. And you know, I was speaking to a friend of mine that was at the game, and he says the one thing that stood out for him was the difference in physicality kind of thing between the 2 teams. And you know, I know the quality that McCool's have. We'll say you take Kevin McCormick, Conor McGinty, who are 2 fabulous footballers kind of thing, but the physical element of, you know, if you don't have a Farah or a Joel Bradley or Marty Riley or these guys to rub off, you're kind of losing a lot kind of thing. And that's where, you know, McCool's will be able to build over the next few years, and you know, to get these players back fit and get them back on the pitch kind of thing, it will help them.
Your noisy neighbours are continuing to be noisy over in Glensfoley there, Brendan, and suppose fabulous game by all accounts for Masters against Glensfoley at the weekend on Saturday. It was, suppose, had everything, suppose, from championship football that you want to see. 2-9 to 2-7. And a certain gentleman stepping up with a goal and 5 for Glen Swilly there, and no doubt you were noting his name down.
Yeah, young fella started at edge of the square, Michael Murphy. No, listen, it was a joy to be there. It was absolutely cracking game of championship football. It's everything you want now. And again, conditions weren't ideal. Pitch was really, really heavy, so it was, and you could see, that it was drawing it out of the legs. And Murphy at the edge of the square scored 1-5. He could have actually had 3. Ryan Haughey made 2 unbelievable stops, 1-on-1 stops against him in the second half. But it's not all about Michael Murphy, because it was the middle third where I saw that the real battle was, and the Gallagher brothers, Jack and Donald Gallagher, Keelan Kelly, young Owen Scott coming out, and just their battle and their willingness to get on ball. Now, you have to make, you can't go through this game without giving huge kudos to Four Masters. They were absolutely fantastic, played some really good football, particularly in the first half. And, Conor Reid knocked over a couple of big long-range scores earlier on. Senan Carr came alive then and scored, a goal just before half-time and after half-time. And he's a good wee volley with Killian Faulkner in the full forward line in there. And young Callum McRae at corner back had an absolutely phenomenal game, driving up the field, scored a point, setting up scores, was really brilliant, as was his brother Aaron. So there was a lot of positives that Four Masters will take from this, and I know that I was speaking to a few of them after and they were very disappointed. But again, it's a learning process, and people have this kind of, because they've been so successful at underage level, that'll translate directly straight away into senior, and that's not going to be the case. It takes time. Going back to my previous point, about building that physicality and getting, just getting a bit stronger and, learning to play the game at senior level. And it was such a competitive game. Every ball was fought ferociously for around all over the field, and particularly the middle third. Senan Carr then came out after half time. There were 4 up at half time, scored a brilliant goal after brilliant work from Killian Faulkner. Next thing, the Michael Murphy show. Bang, 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 bang. 4 points in the space of 4 minutes, kind of thing, So the goal after half time was nullified straight away, kind of thing. And then Senan got a chance. They got a penalty, clean through on goals, pull down, penalty. And to be fair to Keelan McFadden, saved the penalty. And you could just feel the momentum sway. You could feel it move back towards Glen Swilly, and that's where the likes of Donald and Jack Gallagher and these lads really took over around the middle of the park. Mark Boner, I can't excuse me, but it was a brilliant contest. It was such a joy, and it went right to the end, so it did. And not only did Michael Murphy score 1-5, he was back in his own full back line, winning ball in the last few minutes, kind of thing, to try and stem the tide, because Four Masters, to be fair to them, they kept coming, but they were a bit naive in their defending in the second half, in that they left themselves so open on counters. When they were turned over, Glen Swilly transitioned really well. There's some lovely kickers of the ball. They were kicking ball into Michael. He was left 1-on-1, which was the opposite to the first half, because they always had a covering defender in front of him, but he was left exposed in the second half. And as I say, he could have had 3-5, 3-6 kind of thing.
Good luck with that. But look, I suppose, Daire, coming on that point, what Brendan has indicated about Glen Swilly, the work ethic as well from both sides is great to see. And I think it was Gary was indicating, the Glen Swilly manager, about these sides. They know each other from underage, but getting them performances at senior level, it just doesn't quite happen. But when you look at that Glen Swilly side and you look at the work ethic, you look at the way they're moving as well and coming out with the victories, they're sitting top of the Michael Murphy Sports Senior Football Championship there currently. They will be very, very happy coming away from Conaill Park. And look, as Brendan indicated, for Masters, they will learn from that particular game.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gary McDade said before about how a lot of the league campaign was blooding in these young players, and it seems to be coming true anyway, the way they're going through this, because whenever you're down, was it 6 points they were down at one stage?
They were 7 down in the second half, just after the goal.
Obviously you do have the likes of Michael Murphy or Copper and those lads that can make sure the heads don't drop and keep them going, but I think they know themselves that those young lads that they can bring it back. And then I suppose on the flip side with Four Masters, it's probably one that they will be annoyed that they did lose, but there'll be a lot of learning in that, and they just maybe didn't have that maturity to see out the win. But I mean, they did it well against Gweedore in the first game of the championship. So,
and that's something, suppose, comes. Like, obviously Glen Swilly would have really looked into that, how like Senan Carr stepping up, probably one of the players of the season so far, you know, in the championship, another 2 goals, like, and that's definitely a lot of teams are going to be keeping their eyes on Senan over the next
he's
the
a
next
goal
round.
machine, like he really is. You know, you give him you present him with half an opportunity inside, and he's able to take his man on. He has the pace. He's that lower centre of gravity that he can go by his man, and he's very strong on the ball. So he is, and you know, he was unlucky with the penalty to get another try. I think he's 6 goals scored in 3 games in the championship. You know, he's 1, 3 and 2 scored, like, and you know, along with that, he's a good work rate inside too. He does a lot of work, so he does, and you know, you see him back in his own defence, picking up ball from time to time, and you know, but the way Glen Swilly are set up with Michael Copper and Keelan Kelly, just that spine of experience and this exuberance of youth that's around them, kind of that just you know, you can see their desire to get on the ball, and they're good footballers. They can look up, they know when they're looking to try and find Michael on one-on-ones inside. They're not afraid to kick the ball inside, so they aren't. And why would you be when you have someone like Michael Murphy? And you know, just to mention how lucky, you know, to be still able to watch Michael Murphy play football is just a joy, because he's, you know, he's such a presence on any team, so he is, that he plays with. And you know, but you just come away from a game like that buzzing, because it was just the contest and the ferocity of the exchanges all over the field, but particularly in the middle third. And you know, I think you have to give credit to the referee, Andy McFeely. I thought he did a really good job, because it did threaten to spill over a couple of times, but he let it flow and the game went well.
Yeah, very experienced referee, and he knows how to manage games like that. And before we get back to Davy here, Downings, they have beaten Conaill, of course. 1-9 to 10 points was the final score there. Brendan, you were at that one. Paddy McElwee with the goal for Downings. Kilcar, they had an impressive victory against Glenfin, 18 points to 1-8. Paddy McBurdy stepping up with 9 points there. And a goal fest, Ardra 4-5, Eirua 11 points away at Father Tierney Park, and another defeat there for Eirua. So, as I say, big performance by Ardra, and goals won games is the old mantra, Brendan. Yeah,
listen, big win for Ardra. They were under a lot of pressure. A couple of results went against them, so a big win for them. Now you just look at their score difference, it probably is a bit of a concern for them. They'll wait anxiously on the draw to see who they get in the next game, so they will. And you know, as you mentioned, I was down in Falcara at the game yesterday. Again, really good game, really good contest. So it was. The goal by Paddy McElwee after 50 minutes in the second half was the key score in the game, and Downings probably deservedly won it on the day. Conaill probably a bit too reliant on their old guns of Sean McGarvey and Sean Maguire kind of thing, but you know, really good contest, and both teams really going for it. So Conaill, you know, that they're under a bit of pressure, so they are now. Downings can take a bit of confidence from that win into whoever they get in the fourth game.
Yeah. Brilliant roundup there, lads, as ever. Brilliant roundup as ever there. Good man, Pauric. Do you know what? It takes a team, doesn't it? Except there's no blanket defence trying to stop us here. We're kind of free to talk and free to express ourselves.
With Joe Dex there,
I'm not even going to go into this argument about, you know, where I feel. Listen, Maureen and Eunans waiting patiently here. We're going to go to her shortly after this break. First of all, just very quickly, obviously there's Glen Swilly, St Michael's, 3 from 3. Termon, Karen Dunnett and Naomh Alton going down through the championships. Great start from Termon, of course, in this intermediate. Buncrana and Mulford just below them in 5, Nivora and 4, Bundoran. And Naomh Columba on 4. The intermediate championship, as we're saying, is hotting up. And in the junior championship, we have a couple of great performances as well, particularly from Karen Dunnett, 3 from 3. And as I say, Naomh Alton are on that as well. They're pushing ahead. Daire, you're thinking these 2 championships, we're going to give them a proper in-depth look in the coming weeks. But certainly a couple of teams are look like they're pushing a bit ahead, and certainly favourites for the titles.
Yeah, well, I think the main talk is about Termon at the minute, and I mean, after the ending they had to their Division 2 campaign and then beating Eirua in the playoff, it's kind of, they've looked impressive, and they've come straight into this championship doing the same. Maybe not as impressive the last day against Burt. It seemed a very close game, but I'm not sure.
I think I know what happened there with Ronan McLaughlin, and going back to our theme of shutting teams down. But listen, this is the issue. It works to a point, and it just obviously kills the game as a spectacle. But it made it difficult, and certainly for after Burt's start, they had to do something like that. I mean, I can't understand that.
Yeah, and I mean they got the win, so Termon got the win, so I mean they should.
But they made it competitive,
Yeah,
you know. Whereas
exactly.
you wouldn't have thought that was going to be it. Listen, I can understand teams coming up. I just think there's other teams that do they need to do it. I mean, Gweedore, for example, came and beat Eunans well in the league. You know, Eunans only lost a couple of games this year, and then it goes like that. But I suppose from Eunans' perspective, as we keep saying about learnings, no more than 4 masters. When it's not knockout championship, I guess at times you got to learn things, and you know, as tough as that may be, you got to take the learnings, because if that's a knockout game, there's no chance to recover, and that's the way it is. But listen, folks, thanks so much for rounding up all the championship, lads. We're looking forward to a wee week off, and then we'll go at it again for round 4 and see where it takes us. Coming up after the break, I say we're going to talk to Maureen O'Donnell about the ladies' championship.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
This Saturday, dispose of household hazardous waste for free at Donegal County Council's Letterkenny Recycling Centre from 8:30 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. T's and C's apply. Check donegalcoco.ie for the full list of accepted items and paint limits. Strictly no commercial or farm waste. Normal fees apply for all other items. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The thing about hearing difficulties is you can still get the rough gist of most conversations. You know, just about. You might miss some great jokes. The one about the rabbit and the scarf. Like that one. But you'll get a vague idea. And that's okay, isn't it? Not for us, it's not. At Specsavers, we think just okay hearing isn't okay. So book a free hearing check with one of our hearing experts today and be part of the conversation. Specsavers. Okay hearing is not okay.
FBD doesn't stand for frighteningly rad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Welcome
the
back.
DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
I thought we said the time, as I had to say the time. Yeah, listen, Pauric, you've thrown me off kilter now. You've put me out of my seat. I don't know what I'm at. Listen, who can pull it together? We need somebody who's assured, smart, and has it all up here. It's Maureen O'Donnell.
The one and only.
What's the crack, girl? Are we hearing you, Mo?
No, she.
Here we go.
Oh,
there she is.
Come on here.
Yes.
Start the lads out.
You're all right, hey. Listen, we always need it, hey. Hilferty's blathering away here. You can bring two top tier-men stalwarts in here now to bring it all together. Mo, I spoke to you last week just about giving us a bit of update on the game. So we said we would go this week, and of course we had a good raft of postponements in that, Mo. But listen, we still had games played, and you know there's games to come in that, so we're just looking a bit of feel for what you made of the championship so far, and of course the weekend's games.
Yeah, it's like you said, hey, the conditions of the weekend, you know, 2 of the games in round 3 were postponed due to waterlogged pitches, and then, you know, I got word of other games filtering down through the intermediate, the junior A games all cancelled, so that'll sort of backtrack it for a little bit. But in terms of the senior championship yesterday, St Eunans did field against St Naomh. St Eunans were at home, of course, and they came away with a 2-point victory against St Naomh. St Eunans, I suppose, really needed the victory against St Naomh yesterday, because they'll be looking for a top 4 place come the semi-final stages. Unfortunately for St Naomh, now they haven't got off the bottom of the table yet. They have no wins under their belt, but listen, there's a few games left yet. Also playing yesterday, Maureen were playing at home to Eirua. Maureen beating Eirua 2-15 to 2-6, and there was a late goal from Eirua to just, you know, bring it up a little bit better for them. But you know, it's always very hard to go away to Maureen and try and get a victory. But Listen, the way it is in senior championship this year, there's two groups, Group A and Group B. So there's 8 teams in total in the senior championship, and they've changed it up a little bit this year. They've kind of gone and maybe took the style of the men's championship there. So, you know, when it came out first, you would have looked at in Group A, Termon, Maville, Naomh, Conaill and St Eunans been a very, very competitive group. And it would have been hard to get two top teams probably out of that. You know, you'd obviously look to Termon. And then in Group B, Glenfin, St Nolls, Nivora and Irua and Glenfin, I guess, and maybe the rest of the teams looking in that group would have thought, like, especially Irua, Nivora and St Nolls would have thought, well, we have one big team in this group to beat, you know. So, you know, out of 3 teams, St Nolls, Nivora and Irua will definitely get a semi-final spot in that, and Glenfin would have thought that they would have got the easier group. Termon, Maville and Naomh, Conaill and St Eunans would have thought they got the harder group, and of course they switched it around then. So it's a case of everybody in Group A has to play everybody in Group B, which left Glenfin really had a struggle then, because they would have to play Termon and Maville.
When was that decided? Well, so the groups was already drew out before that decision was made?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I don't know which came first.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the girls, and a lot of the feedback from the girls, what's coming back from them is they actually, like, speaking of some of the Glenfin players, and I put it to them, and they were saying that we thought we had a handy group. Well, not a handy group, but we thought we had an alright group. But it turns out that they probably have the raw end of the deal, really. Yeah. You know, so it really threw it up in the air as to who would pick for the top 4. Again, as I say, obviously Termon, because they've been strong over the last number of years, and Glenfin, you'd still suspect Glenfin would be in there with the top 4. But, you know, listen, Glenfin are in a tricky position. They've only played one game, and that has been against Termon down the Burn Road, and they lost out to Termon that day. So they really need to pick up their points now in the next few games. So Glenfin have still St Eunans to play, Glenties and Maville, and those 3 teams will all be looking for a place in the top 4, Brendan. So that's how it is, and that's how it stands at the minute. Glenfin are due now this weekend because it's a free weekend, and then the round 4 stage games will be played on the 8th of September, and then any games then that were postponed yesterday will be played then after that, just before the semi-finals. But Glenfin are due to play St Eunans, which will be a big game now this weekend. Glenfin really need to win their matches if they have a chance of staying up in the top 4 now.
But what you're saying there, Mo, so you've got probably Termon a bit would be favourites for the championship, they say, and then you've got maybe 5 teams after that that you think are all capable of beating each other on a given day. Would that be kind of your feeling on it?
Yeah, listen, look, you got to look to Termon. They're still very strong. Listen, it goes back to the county, and you've lost a number of big names in the county, maybe through the Australian football. Some of the club players are going out to play the Australian football. I mean, it filters down then into the club, and some of the, you know, Termon are still relatively strong. They're without Nicole McLaughlin this year, but apart from that, Geraldine's in there playing. I know she didn't play county football this year, but, you know, they were due to play Nivora, and Nivora are second and bottom of the table, you could say so at the minute, and they were due to play Nivora at the weekend. I would assume they would have won that game. That's their final game, so they would top the group. You know, Maville are always very, very strong.
Are they coming back? It seemed like they were a wee bit off. Maybe the challenge of what was the top 2 for a few years there after they had their own championship victories. Is there a new wave coming through there for them?
Who, Maville? You're talking about Maville?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, look, Maville, you know, they've been in senior championship for the best part of a decade and beyond, and they've been competing big time up there. What happened to Maville, you see, is a lot of their players then, there was no Carndonagh team at the time, and a lot of their players that were playing for Maville, they transferred back to Carndonagh when the club came about again. So, you know, that hurt them bad. They lost an awful lot of players at that stage, and they were down for a few years, but they still competed well in senior championship. Like, they were finalists in 2016, 17 and 18, and they won the title in 2016. So you can see that they are competing. They were in the semi-finals 2 years ago in 2022 against I think they were playing Glenfin and they beat Glenfin. So Mauville are up against, Mauville have still Glenfin to play in the last game, so of the stages of the championship now at the minute. So that'll be a big game as well for Mauville. Mauville haven't beaten Glenfin in maybe for the best part of 7 years now. But I think as well, Mauville will be losing Naomh McLaughlin, county player Naomh McLaughlin. She's going to have to play the Australian football as well. So, and maybe her sister Blanet as well, maybe going as well. So listen, they
Massive blow
to get to the semi-finals now, Brendan, at this stage.
Yeah, you can't replace players like that.
No, especially we spoke to Naomh earlier on in the year, and Naomh McLaughlin and her sister Blanet leaving. You know, it's disappointing for Mauville because, as Mo has indicated, they have been very competitive over the last number of years, and you know, you wouldn't take them for granted in any particular day, you know. But I suppose, as Mo has indicated about St Eunans, Eunans be very happy. That's going to be a bit of a clinker, I think. Glenfin and St Eunans this weekend. You know, if the weather would settle a bit.
Yeah, our August. Our August hurricanes coming. Listen, it's great too because obviously, you know, with this fresh look at Donegal and John McNulty and the new management, you know, if there's plenty of teams being competitive, you know, there'll be players stepping up to the mark because it's an open book again in terms of this Donegal team and unearthing players, which is great. Mo, is there anything in the intermediate and junior ranks caught your eye in terms of teams that are going well and pushing up?
Listen, I suppose when you talk about intermediate, you really have to look at Dunlow and the progress they've been making. And I know you and I have talked about this Dunlow team now for a while, but they top in the table now at the minute, you know. Their seniors lost out. They were promoted to Division 1 last year, which was massive for the club. Their seniors lost out to Termon earlier on this year in the Division 1 semi-final. Their under 14s just won the Division 1 title there at the weekend, and I think their minors are also in the Division 1 semi-final against Four Masters. So listen, there are 4 girls on the minor county panel, and I think there's possibly 2 girls on the senior panel for Dunlow as well. So they're really an up-and-coming team. I would say if I was to put my money on it, now I've been wrong in the past, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Never.
But you know, I think they'll have their sights in the intermediate championship this year. I mean, Killybegs were, I think, in the final last year as well. They're sitting third in the table, and Gweedore is probably the other challenging team in the intermediate championship as well. So listen, you've got it's very competitive in intermediate, and they're all looking to get up to senior, and that's a great thing because when you know that's where you'll develop and that's where you'll really progress. Playing in Division 1 or in Senior Championship against the big teams. When you look at Naomh up this year, they're having a tight time. They're at the bottom of the table, but they're definitely, no doubt, a team that have developed. I watched them play in the Junior Ulster final. They progressed into intermediate, won the intermediate last year. That's probably 3 years later. And I know they're at the bottom of the table, but you know the only way is up if they keep progressing and developing and playing the bigger teams. Iru are in there now for a number of years. St Eunans have been in there. Naomh Conaill have been in since 2018, competing very well in the senior championship. And like Buncrana was in 2019, and what happened was they were relegated then straight away that year. And after that, I think they brought a rule in that you had to stay 3 years in the senior championship, which has definitely improved and developed players. Yeah. And you know, as I said, they're teams in intermediate definitely looking to get up, and the same with junior A. Like I spoke to Barney today, the manager from or he's working with the Downies side down there, and they're definitely looking to get out of junior A and intermediate, and that's how you progress. And it swings and roundabouts. Like we talk about Termon being in top form and a top ladies football team, as in Glenfin and you know and Mauville, but you know like Four Masters were up and not so long ago. Like Four Masters were relegated in 2012, and they find themselves now Four Masters down in junior A and struggling to get up. But I've no doubt they will get up again, but that's how quick it can be, you know, in ladies football. You go down, you drop, but no doubt that's because they lost a lot of players, and that's what happens with ladies footballers. You lose players every now and again, but there's serious amount of work being done. There are 37 county club teams now at the minute, Brendan, and they're doing a power of work to try and promote the ladies' game and to try and promote the game among players as well. So it's fantastic to see.
Well, yeah, I was chatting to Sinead Breen about that before I come on today, just talking about, you know, the promotion of the games right across, because that's the core of the GA has to be, everybody has to get the promotion, get the help, get the backup, because as you know, Mo, the great life that you had in football, there's so many aspects to it which are so positive. And listen, Mo, we'll stay in touch as the championship goes on, and thanks for that roundup this evening.
Thanks, Mo.
Brendan, thanks, Pauric.
Thanks very much. Folks, after the break, we're going to talk to Sean McVeigh about the hurling finals coming up at the weekend.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Hello, Jedward speaking. Sorry, Edward speaking.
Hey bro, I'm glad you picked up.
Who is this?
It's me, John. I'm literally outside in the landing.
I don't know any Sean. Lose my number. Hello?
Edward, don't hang up. I'm sorry for saying a handyman could fix the gas boiler. Please forgive.
Always use a registered gas installer, or you could risk everything. Find one at rgi.ie.
Sheridan Security now introducing Zero Wire Smart Alarm Systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Every visit to the Virgin Media Playhouse brings amazing offers, like 1 gig super-fast reliable broadband for just €45 a month for 12 months with no activation fee, and for a limited time €100 voucher when you switch online. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 1 gig broadband, €80 thereafter. Offer ends September 2nd, 2024. Check this.
Yes, boy. No need for another intro there, Judex. We have Sean McVeigh on the line. Sean, what is the crack, sir?
Brendan, how's it going?
The very best, Sean. The very best. Great to hear from you, Sean. Sean, what a season you had, of course, and rolled into the club championship now. And listen, Eunans were in there fighting, and it was interesting to get your views, because we have 3 big finals at the weekend in O'Donnell Park, of course, which is the home of the hurling. We have, of course, for Masters and Unions in the junior at 1 o'clock. And intermediate, then we have Cairndonagh, Buncrana. And then the big one, the senior final at 5 o'clock. That is Burt v Satanta. Sean, you of course played against both these sides this season. What are you expecting in the senior final?
Expecting a real battle, I suppose, Brendan. I suppose it's hard to look past the fact that Satanta are probably favourites. They've really picked up, I suppose, from where they left off, winning the county championship and obviously the Ulster Intermediate last year and driving on to an All-Ireland semi-final. You know, you kind of wondered how they'd come back after that, with the hunger still there, but they look like they're moving better than ever. So I suppose it's going to be a real challenge for Burt to see how they're going to stop that. You look at that Satanta forward line. You know, you've got Rory Campbell up there who's leading the line really well and is really kind of developing and leading that line for Satanta, and is a really outlet for them. You got Jerry Gilmore, Josh McGee inside there, and then you got the likes of Danny Collins, Sean Ward. You know, it's a really inter-county forward line. So it'd be really interesting to see how Burt go about stopping that threat, you know.
Yeah, and tell me, of course, the championship earlier in the year, Burt did give them a scare. Three quick goals really give them a platform in that game. But Satanta 222 to 311, it ended up just that scoring power you're on about, Sean. So hard to contain. And that is a difficult proposition for Burt getting in this. But listen, Burt are improving, certainly, Sean, but it's a big step up. And of course, as you said, Satanta, you know, not just county champions, but Ulster champions. But it took a lot of, I suppose, experience and confidence and know-how in that run last year to that semi-final.
That's it. And I suppose the game that was played earlier in the year, you know, Burt got those early goals in the first half. They got 3 in the first half, and that really set a platform. But I suppose Satanta are so experienced now, they were able to draw them back in. But I think what's going to be a really interesting battle is probably the one between Ronan McDermott and Stephen McBride this week. Stephen McBride missed the game at the group stage, and I think that probably told with those goals in the first half. But it'd be interesting to see that battle this week. Obviously, Ronan's back from the cruciate injury he had last year. You know, he's really carrying the threat for Burt. They're probably going to look to really close up shop, I think, and really make it hard for Satanta. You know, they'll really try and make it a battle around the middle. They'll probably play, bring a player back and try and fill gaps to stop the ball going inside to the likes of Rory and Josh and Jerry and boys like that, and then look to hit Ronan or Liam McKinney kind of from deep then, and hope to get those 3 pointers and hope that that's enough for them. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Marty McGrath and the lads are thinking down in Burt. It's a 4-week break from the last group game, so they've had plenty of time, I suppose, to put a plan together. So I think that's the real intriguing thing for me looking into the game is, what are Burt going to come up with to really kind of stop Setanta opening them up,
Yeah, it's set up for one limb. A lot of things going to have to fall in place, I suppose, in terms of the Burt performance to get close to them, because there's no doubt, Sean, at the minute, Setanta, if they get into their groove, it's an awesome a team to try and stop and shut down. As we know, we've seen from the weekend and the other codes, it's hard to shut down a hurling team. The speed and the skill on show and the scores from range, it's a difficult proposition.
Well, that's it. And you talk about, keeping it tight and stopping the goals. But Setanta equally have the men who can pop scores from range. You see Jerry Gilmore, who'd probably line out in the full forward line, but can equally just come out, getting the ball from 50, 60 metres, pop it over. Same with Danny Cullen, Declan Coulter. Niall Cleary can really take a score from distance as well. But the real interesting kind of involvement, I think, in the Setanta game the last couple of years has probably been Kevin Campbell in goals as well. And, they're very happy to go back to him, from the cornerbacks there and the full-backs, and he'll come out and he'll start attacks, he'll spread the play. And I think that's at another level to the Setanta game. So, it's one of them, you think you might have one fire, put out in one place and somebody else steps up and they might get a goal or a couple of points from distance. And it's just a really big challenge. But for Burt, they've huge championship pedigree. They'll not fear the battle. Knowing some of them lads, they'll be relishing it. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do. They'll like the fact, knowing some of the management team down there, they'll probably like the fact they're going in, underdogs, Setanta are going in big favourites. I'll tee them up nicely. So look, expecting a really exciting game, to be honest. I think if Burt can keep it tight in the first half, stay in the game for as long as possible, they're always going to have a threat with the likes of Liam McKinney and Ronan McDermott, when they get the ball up the pitch, and that's really what's going to be the winning and losing of the game. I think if Burt can get those men on the ball, they'll cause a bit of bother for Setanta, but it's a big challenge for them.
Yeah, big challenge. Listen, really looking forward. What a day it's going to be out there, Sean. Obviously, the juniors, this is the Grand Conaill Hotel sponsoring the championship, so Eunans, Four Masters, and of course Karen Donagh Buncrana as well. Very intriguing setup game. Karen Donagh, great work being done down there. Hurling Buncrana dropping down. Like for a team that got either of these teams to win an intermediate title, be huge progression. It's always great to be in a competition where you have a realistic chance of winning. So a huge day for the clubs involved.
Yeah, really interesting game, this one, to be honest. Karen Donagh have been a team that's been on the up last number of years. And Buncrana have really been a team that's been competing in county semi-finals. So really interesting one. You've got two teams, I suppose, coming in opposite directions. I think Buncrana, as much as progression has been for them in hurling over the years, and they produce some top players, they probably haven't had a lot of silverware to kind of show for that.
Yeah.
So this is a really big opportunity for them, and you'd love to see the likes of Jack O'Loughlin and Oisin Grant and boys like that really get over the line and get a bit of silverware for the efforts they put in. But then I suppose, likewise on the other side, Karen Donagh have really been an up and coming team, and the real big plus for them is obviously Luke White, and who plays in nets with Donegal, but he's playing centre back for them, and he'll be pivotal for Karen Donagh in that game. You see they'll look to get frees from distance and even slow the game down at points as well. So that's going to be a really interesting battle, obviously, and then a show on Derby as well. So that'll be an interesting one, and I'm not sure what way that one will go. Buncrana will probably go in as favourites, but I'm sure Karen Donagh will make it extremely tough for them.
Yeah, first class, Sean. Listen, really looking forward to it. No doubt we'll see you out there at the park. I'm looking forward to 3 brilliant games. I get along and get a look at it. If you don't, this will be streamed, of course, through the County Board channels. Sean McVeigh, thanks for joining us this evening on DL Debate.
Thanks, Brendan.
That was great there, Sean McVeigh. I want to thank Joe Dex for producing, Pauric Hilferty, Donegal Club Championship, Daire, of course, Maureen O'Donnell. I'll speak to you all next week.